We've been discussing laws of Pesach from the Shulchan Aruch, and the reason we've been doing it like this is I'm trying to focus on the halachot that I'm not going to be focusing on in my Pesach seminar, which is right now we've been doing the laws of the Seder Pesach. The notes that we're using are the commentary of my Rabbi HaRav Peretz on the Shulchan Aruch. And there's a PDF that's been going around. If someone needs it, you can ask for it to be emailed to you. It's about Google Plus. And so I continue. Yesterday we mentioned that according to Chachamei Ashkenaz, the giants of Ashkenaz, is a very important thing that we are one of Chachamei Ashkenaz, right? The reason we dedicate our table, we decorate our table, we make it so beautiful, is in order to remember the spoils that we left Egypt with, the gold, the silver, what we left with. And so therefore we also bring out fancy china, things like that in the Seder. I mentioned yesterday we did a few halachot of, we don't normally do that. We don't normally I want them to know that it's a doorway and not a door, so we can still hear them even if they stand at the door.
Wow, that's a nice class.
You want the door closed?
No, just the people near the door to close.
Come,
So,
they don't hear you, all the secrets.
he's good at marketing.
Yes.
Look at that. Oh, Hashem.
It's
We're normally not supposed to overindulge since the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. Really, every home should be missing something. So everything that we do, we should be conscious of the fact that the Beit HaMikdash is not here. We ended up with this note last night. But then on Pesach time, we're celebrating being free, freedom, being royalty, and therefore we have an obligation to go out of our way a little things we don't do the rest of the year. We should do for the Seder Pesach. It's really a problem. There's in the Jewish community, there's a huge lack of spiritual leadership. Legal Jewish leadership is an overabundance. There's so many people that will tell you you can't do this and you can't do this and you can't do that. But spiritual leadership is almost gone. What do I mean by that? It could also be the effect of the rabbi of the West, but what used to be a problem, let me give you an example. The Chavetz Chaim records a story in which a man in the synagogue was wearing two pairs of tefillin, one for Rashi and one for Rabbi Yonatan. This is famous. The Shulchan Aruch says that really there's one kind of tefillin, but if you're extra pious, then you wear a second pair of tefillin. So this man wasn't known for his extra piety, and the Chavetz Chaim records a story that the rabbi went over to him and ripped the tefillin off his head. He said, "How dare you walk around pretending you're so holy when really you're not?" In Morocco, there was a chacham that used to do this very often. Rabbi Masas records that if people would cover their heads with their talit, that was only the Torah scholars covered their heads with their talit, that you would see there was a Talmid Chacham would come and he would uncover people's heads. Why are you uncovering your head? Who do you think you are? In Morocco, even the rabbis didn't wear tzitzit during the day. And so to do that would be looking like you're showing off. Imagine if you had a situation in which somebody would come and tell you you're being too religious. You ever hear that before? I've never heard a rabbi that tells you you're being too religious. My rabbi has told me that before. But most rabbis, that's not their style. They'll tell you, yeah, keep doing it, become a fanatic, destroy your relationship with your wife, ruin your kids' connection to their Judaism, and make sure your friends never want to talk to you again. That's what Judaism looks like today. And lo and behold, if you try to be a voice of sanity, you should know that they'll sacrifice you as their Pesach offering. That's what they'll do. The zealots are rampant. They're on the loose. This is what everyone needs to be more fanatic than the next. But the truth is that that's the problem when you only have halachic leadership. And you know me, I'm an advocate of halakha greater than anyone else. But halakha has to come with a worldview that goes with it, with a philosophy that comes along with it. You don't just know halakha, you also have to know who you're dealing with. What kind of people are you talking to? For example, I believe according to halakha that a person should only be drinking wine at the tzedek, not grape juice. A lot of people can't handle 4 cups of wine. There's a lot of people who can't handle 4 cups of grape juice, by the way. Someone with diabetes, somebody has a blood sugar problems. Oh, the first thing you want to kill him at the Pesach Seder?
Hopefully not.
So when you are teaching a halakha, you must be very particular how you're teaching halakha. Hey, you can't do this. You have to eat on Yom Kippur. You have to. You don't have a choice. It's not extra pious to put your life at risk. But our generation is lacking this. We don't have people that are going anymore and telling you, hey, our community is becoming too fanatic. We're going off the deep end. Nobody does that anymore. And because of that, people literally go off the deep end. That's what happens. But there's another kind of spiritual leadership, and that is when there's something that might not be halachically problematic, might not be legally problematic, but on a philosophical level, in Judaism it's an issue. You have a lot of money. You're a very wealthy person. Does that entitle you to make a $10 million wedding for your firstborn daughter? The answer is no. No. Which halakha says that? There is no halakha that says that. What about all the people that sit at your table and they look at those how much is a place setting at a table when they serve a wedding? How much do you charge per plate? A caterer, a regular caterer, what do they charge?
$100. $100.
$100? $100?
Yeah.
For one meal?
I hear 200.
For a plate at a wedding?
Per plate.
Per plate. Oh.
Someone said 200?
My
No,
son,
didn't I hear 200?
Yeah?
some of our sons were 300 and some were 250.
Right, so you don't want to say that on camera, but you just did. Who allows you to pay that much money for something like that?
The in-laws.
Which halakha? That's not a joke. Who allows such a thing? Where are the chachamim that say, sorry, I can't come to, just like they won't come to a wedding if it's not kosher? What if it's not kosher on a philosophical level? I can't come to, they'll walk out for the mixed dancing, yes. What about for the part of the wedding that makes someone go broke? They have to take out loans to pay off their children. What about them? What about all the poor people that sit at that table? What do you mean by poor people? A lot of us can be in the category of poor people. I have a hard time paying your bills this month. With that plate of chicken that nobody ate sitting next to me at the table, I could have paid my electric bill. There are people, the band. Every person in the band is someone's mortgage payment. Who allowed a community to indulge like this? Especially when the Beit HaMikdash is destroyed. Especially when we're not supposed to be at the height of our joy. What's this cute thing that people break a glass by the chuppah? You know, it's not complete, our joy is not complete, we have to break a glass, so we're all sad. And then let's go to our 6-course meal of gluttonous eating and overindulgence in alcohol and meats and chickens and fish and pastries and cookies and cakes and what you can only imagine. You know what happens at the end of that wedding? Whatever your guests who are gluttons didn't finish, they throw in the garbage.
Why?
They throw in the garbage. And all of that under the guise of this is a Jewish wedding. It's a Jewish celebration. See, but Jews don't like when you talk to them like that. So I'll tell you what Jews do. Jews hire people to make them feel good. They hire rabbis and teachers and they pay them. Just, we'll pay you to shut up. We're going to give you a lot of money so you don't tell us the things that make us uncomfortable. And that's what you're looking at today. You come to the Pesach Seder, everyone's using paper plates. Disposable tablecloths, gefilte fish from a jar. But I mean, this is the meal, the one meal a year that you're allowed to indulge, that you're allowed to put out silverware on your table, that you're allowed to bring out all your fanciest utensils, and this is the night that you're going to use paper plates. Look at the absurdity of it. Because there are a lot of halachic leaders, but not enough spiritual leaders. So I'll tell you the truth, like I told you, you also have to think about you have to teach a halacha, 4 cups of wine. Someone can't drink wine. Someone can't drink grape juice. Sometimes you have a wife that she's already been cooking the whole week and she can't wash 60 people's dishes after a meal. Even with your help, neither of you at 2 o'clock in the morning are washing dishes. Okay, so you use paper, fine. I got it. I'm not here to hate on the paper. We use it in my house too. I'm running the seder. My wife is always particular to bring me a regular place setting. 1 plate you can wash. At least teach your guests as halakha that we're only doing this because we don't have another choice. But really, if we could, we would X, Y, and Z. So we'll go to Pesach hotels or a Pesach program. They're not going to talk to you how much money people spend on that.
Oh my goodness.
Let's forget money for just a second. And let's remember that when you're in the world, I once was a mashgiach. I was the kosher supervisor at a Jewish weekend getaway. And one of the waiters took me aside and said, Rabbi, how much do Jews eat? And at that moment, I wished I wasn't Jewish. It was the 5th meal in the day, 5th meal, and it wasn't 4 p.m. yet.
Oh.
these people ate like they were never gonna see food again. And I say, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be Jewish. The way you speak to your waiter, here, take my bags. Here, how come? Who are you? You're a king of Hashverosh. You're Paro. Who are you? Your waiter. How much does a waiter make? What's the minimum wage in California? $10.50. $10.50? This waiter makes. Let's make him a really fancy waiter. $11 an hour. For $11 an hour, you own another human being. They work for you. It's unbelievable. When people say, "Oh, the Jews are coming," people shouldn't be scared. The Jews are coming. That means they don't put pressure on us. That means they help us carry our bags to our room. That means they don't expect that they're going to hold the door for us. The Jews are coming. That means they're going to help us clear the tables afterwards. The Jews are coming. That means their kids are not going to look at us funny because we're that's different than them because we're not Jewish. That's what it should mean when the Jews are coming. You know, if you had a dog that every time he came out of the house he bit somebody, you would never take the dog out of the house, right? If you have Jews that when they leave their little bubble, they can't behave nicely, so just never let them leave the bubble. Just let them stay. You don't have a license to leave the community this year. You can go to anger management therapy sessions this year. You can go study some derech eretz with the rabbi sessions this year. Maybe in another year we'll reevaluate your case and we'll allow you into the public life. They say a famous story about a Rosh Yeshiva. He was the head of the yeshiva, and he said that one day they're trying to draft the yeshiva boys into the Israeli army, and he told the general in the army, he said, "You think you're doing me a favor by letting me keep the yeshiva boys in the yeshiva?" He said, "I'm doing you a favor keeping these wild animals locked up inside of a building." He said, "Imagine if I had to let you deal with them." And it's a scary thing. But Pesach is a time for freedom, real freedom. And someone has to guide us on those, not just halachot of drinking wine and you have to eat this and dip a bitter herb, but what place are we trying to reach? The place we're trying to reach is of utter refinement, complete refinement. We're eating like kings. You know how kings eat? Have you ever seen a king eat?
No, usually
You know they don't stuff their face.
No.
They pick at their food a little bit. If you once read the manual for the chef of the Queen of England, just a few of their rules. They never make food with garlic, so their breath should never smell. They don't make spices that should get stuck in between their teeth. All the food is served in very small pieces. Do you know the halacha? That you're not allowed to hold more than an olive size of bread in your hand at one time? Do you know that's a halacha? I see every year Pesach Seder they hold the matzah with the two hands. What are you, a gopher? You're a human being. Break your matzah and eat it. Break your matzah and eat it. You come to a pizza store, and this person is eating their slice of pizza like this. How many people can eat this pie? You take your fork and your knife and eat like a human being. But that's how everybody eats pizza. I know, we're not everybody. We're the children of the King of the universe. To be refined, that's what Pesach is all about, to be refined. To sit in a meal, to drink 4 glasses of wine with respect. Not to get drunk. I was at a seder, someone was drunk at the end of the meal. You shouldn't be drinking wine at the seder, you're going to be drunk by the end of the meal. At the end of the seder, the highlight of the seder in our community is we finish who knows 1, who knows 2, who knows 3, and all those, the Haggadah, the donkey, the goat, we got that, and then what do?
Go to sleep.
We take out Sidurim, the Shem Yichud, Shem Yichud, unite the name of Hashem. Shir HaShirim Asher Lishlomo. We sing the Song of Songs to Shlomo Melech. We've reached a place where it's so holy that we have one time a year we have the opportunity to sing the Song of Songs in purity, all together at the table. That's what you're supposed to end off your seder with holiness. The Rabbi said with a taste of matzah inside of your mouth. It's an incredible experience if you do the seder right. So to the halachot. Yesterday we said that when you lean, you should lean. How do you lean? Now I have a wall. I can demonstrate. Look, I don't have enough room at the table. Really, nobody sat on such chairs. Okay, so you imagine like a Persian, the Ottomans. It's funny, Persian Ottoman. That's an interesting name. Okay, no, let's say, you know these. What do you call them?
Divan.
The Turkish Iranian.
Chase.
Futon.
Chase
Lounge.
Like a lounge chair. Imagine even a
it's a
cheap
divan.
cool one. Yeah, you're laying like this. How does a person lay? I'm gonna pretend here, just a second. It's not really the kill in the cameras. It's just a demonstration. You should be leaning. I'm not so comfortable like Jack said yesterday. But it should be something like this.
Well, you talk.
What people do when they're leaning, they go like this. Look, they take their cup and they You ever see the bicep?
Yeah.
The only thing you're gonna need is, like we said yesterday, Gershom Stein afterwards. You're gonna need it to help fix your neck. That's not leaning. Leaning is to be free, to be comfortable. And that's what he writes here. Peretz, that you put pillows beneath your underneath your head as a Mishnah Berurah. And your body has to lean also, not just your head. Your body and your head, they're leaning. You should be comfortable when you're drinking. Now, why do we lean to our left? Now, before you tell me, remember yesterday I asked you why you stopped blowing the shofar one day before Rosh Hashanah, and I said, please don't tell me about the Satan. Please don't tell me about choking. There's not a person in this room that has never eaten something leaning to their left and they didn't choke. You were at a movie, you were eating popcorn, you were in your bed and you were drinking something and you managed to, on your left, to hold your Starbucks drink and drink it. You were bending over to pick something from the floor and you were chewing. You never died from leaning to your left. Why do you lean to your left? Let's try that again.
Is the heart?
No, the liver's on the right, and that's supposed to be over the liver according to medicine.
Because kings lean to are allowed to lean and do whatever they
The king could, if he could do that, he could lean forward, he could do whatever he wants.
when
The
they're
king.
right.
So there's two reasons. The second reason you all know, that's the one about choking. The first reason, I want to read it to you. Rashi writes in the Gemara, you lean to the left, Sharei bimino hu tzarich le'echol. If you lean on your right, which hand are you going to use to eat?
Oh, that's right.
Left.
Oh.
You have to lean on the left so you could use your right hand to eat. That's the reason you lean to the left.
Well, there are people who are left-handed.
So
Oh, wait, hold on. This is exactly where I'm going with it. I just saw this out of nowhere. And then someone argues with him, the Rashbam. Who's the Rashbam?
He's grandson.
Rashbam is the grandson of Rashi. He loves to argue with Rashi. Rashi was blessed with many grandchildren who argued with him. The Rashbam is a very dear commentary for us. The Rashbam is a real commentary of Pshat. He tells you really what things mean. The Rashbam says, Shem Ekdim Kaneh Veset. Maybe the windpipe is gonna come before the food pipe, and you're gonna, a person could choke. HaRav Peretz says the first answer is the most correct answer. But tell me this. Tell me something. Is there a difference? Who cares what the reason is? We lean left. Who cares why? Is there what they call in Aramaic a nafka mina? Is there a practical difference that results because there are two different opinions?
If you are lefted.
Oh, very good. What if I'm left-handed
Oh, yeah.
and I eat with my left hand? According to the Rashbam, who says maybe you're going to choke, people who are left-handed, are their esophagus and their trachea switched around? No, their body is the same, simply they're left-handed. So according to the Rashbam, which direction would they lean?
Right.
Lean.
The opposite.
No, Rashbam, the second opinion.
Left.
They will lean to their left because their body's like everybody else's. But according to Rashi, if they need to use which hand to eat? Their left hand, therefore they would have to lean towards their right. Because that's the way they would be comfortable and still be able to use their hand to eat.
Yeah,
Correct.
Villain, yeah.
Oh, it's not complicated. What if a person knows how to throw a ball with one hand, but right with the other hand? Not everyone is purely left-handed or purely right-handed. The Kabbalists say that even a left-handed person should wear tefillin on both arms. You know that? I've never seen anyone do this. It's not accepted standard practice. Simply saying that there is such an opinion. So don't. It's not so simple that lefty is like this and right-handed people are like that. Not so simple. So the bottom line is that according to the second reason, really the left-handed person leans regularly. According to other opinions, he leans on the. What if the opinion is right and really the left-handed person should be leaning right? So even according to that opinion, if you lean in any direction, you still fulfill your obligations. You don't have to worry. Everybody's all right. Let's read here and see Halacha. Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch, Isha, what about a lady? Einat tzricha, the way it's spelled here is hasiba, but in Hebrew they say hasaba. Okay? She doesn't have to lean. Ele im ken hi chashuva, unless she's an important woman. Why?
All women are important.
Wait, don't go here.
Can you repeat that one more time, Rabbi?
Understand this halacha first.
Yeah.
The kids.
Women don't have to lean unless they are important.
You want to see how it throws it out into here?
Wouldn't that be an opinion?
I'm asking to understand this halacha. Why do we lean?
Well, if she doesn't feel royal, then why would she be leaning? No, because the whole purpose of leaning is to feel like you're royalty. If she doesn't consider herself that, then leaning is superfluous.
Well, then men have the same problem. You
Yes.
I went to visit
No, men
somebody's
have
house.
big egos, so we have nothing to worry
I
about.
went to visit someone's house,
Right?
and as I came in, all the ladies scuttled away into the kitchen to hide until I was gone.
Oh, heaven.
And so in that culture, the ladies are hiding from men. They don't do the same thing that men do. They don't eat the same place as men do. They don't, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And therefore, in their kitchen, no lady's bringing her ottoman into her kitchen and leaning back. She's stuck in the kitchen. That's why she's there. Unless she's a very important lady, in which case she's managed. And I gave you a shiur here about Dona Gracia.
Yeah.
You think she was? Everybody was afraid of her. They all stood up straight, and she was the only one who was leaning. I mean, a very important woman, even at her own table, would be leaning. And therefore, Maran says a practical halakha. A lady leans in a place where she's considered important enough to be leaning. But if she isn't, then she isn't. So says the Rama, Rabbi Moshe Israelish, from the rabbis of Ashkenaz, V'chol hanashim shelanu mikrei chashuvot.
Wow.
All of our wives are considered important ladies.
Thank you.
He passes the test.
I don't know about Sparta guys, but next.
Wait here. Don't get so excited.
What if you're not married?
He meant woman, not just married wife. But, you gotta love that word. But,
Everything.
lo nahagu lehasef. In Ashkenaz, ladies do not have a custom to lean at all.
Really?
Ki samchu al divrei Ravia, they rely on the words of the Ravia. Who is the Ravia? He's one of the Rishonim, one of the early rabbis. And he says, the bazman hazeh en tzarich lehasef, that today he holds that nobody has to lean. And leaning is not a mitzvah anymore.
Oh.
Why? He says because nowadays who leans?
Away.
He was an Ashkenazi Rishon, if I'm not mistaken. He says in our countries nobody leans. So why would you go out of your way on Pesach to be uncomfortable when the whole year this is not what you would do to be comfortable? And therefore says the Rama, interesting enough, he says, hey, Rabbi Yosef Karo, all of our wives are very important people. But we don't lean anyways. And so, interestingly enough, the only woman in Jewish history who ever leaned at the Pesach Seder were Sephardic women. Even though, according to Rabbi Yosef Karo, Sephardic women don't have to lean. Unless they're important. Do you understand how this works?
Yeah.
We went full circle here. And the truth is that I asked HaRav Peretz, so what happens now? What is the halakha?
Which one is the one?
What did HaRav Peretz tell me? He said, because most people, they lean like this, if we would hold that you have to lean in the Pesach Seder, they would never fulfill their obligation. If you were supposed to drink a cup leaning and you didn't drink it leaning, you have to go back and drink the cup again. He said, but in our Sedarim, nobody would fulfill their obligation because nobody leans properly. And therefore, you would tell me for the last 2,000 years, Jews don't know how to do the Seder properly. And therefore, he says it must be that even if they don't know, the Jewish community accepted the halakha that you don't have to lean anymore. Because if we don't say that, then nobody fulfills their obligation on the Pesach Seder. Okay, so Rabbi Peretz, what do you do? Of course I lean. That's a halakha. And your wife? No, she doesn't lean. Why? She holds like the Ravia?
She leans toward him.
And so this is the halakha really. Now there are also rabbis that wrote that maybe in terms of tzniut, in terms of modesty, perhaps when women were leaning, they were leaning in their own, it was very normal. Remember, the king is making a banquet and the queen is making a banquet, but in front of men, it's not such a, I'll tell you, then why do you have to go so far in front of men and women? If I'm laying down, let's say on the couch, it happens sometimes. Laying on the couch, Al-Kharan's playing on the floor, but someone comes into the house, I always sit up. Why do I sit up? Laying down is considered a compromising position in most cultures. And therefore, when you're in the presence of company, you straighten up.
Right.
So is this the
When
lenient?
voting. Oh, you're sitting next to Jack. You didn't even say anything
The
yet.
lenient opinion?
Yes.
So my wife,
Oh, that's cute.
I'm not gonna draw attention to her, but my wife always sits funny on her
Why are
chair.
you looking at me? He said.
And her mother would always say, Vori, it's a fine, you're in my house, but what are you gonna do in front of your mother-in-law? She said, I'm gonna sit just like this. Yeah, that was her answer. And look, she sits just like that, Baruch Hashem. And the truth is that a lot of this whole area of leaning and not leaning is really dependent on a person and a culture and a place. And that which it says to lean, really there's a lot more to this halakha than you would think.
So you're saying Derech Eretz then precludes some of this discussion?
Derech Eretz?
Yes, because it sounds like what we're discussing, it's Derech Eretz here to be this way, Derech Eretz here to
Correct.
be that way.
Correct. But I don't know that everybody agrees with HaRav Yaakov that this halakha is subjective. He could believe, the rest could believe that the halakha is objective. You have to lean regardless of where you are. Now, the Mishnah brought something interesting. Where did my wife go? I just needed her.
She went as a kid.
I think she would have changed.
She over there? She's in...
Outside.
Okay, no, it's okay.
She's important.
You wear a kittel by the Seder?
No.
Anyone here wear a kittel by the Seder? You wear a kittel by
I
the
saw
Seder?
people doing it. Yeah.
Okay. It's a Sephardic custom to wear white by the Seder. The Mishnah Berurah writes, the kittel. What is the kittel?
White.
White.
A
That's
kittel
white.
is a burial shroud. We bury people in kittels. Vori, your father wears a kittel by the Seder?
Of course.
Of course. So, look at that.
He's Jewish.
She got the sharp tongue. So
Can I have the keys?
Says the Mishnah Berurah, the kittel nahagu shelo lishbosh. The custom.
Keys.
The custom is not to wear a kittel. Umikom makom, but in any case, halovesh, if somebody wears the kittel, en mochin biyado, we don't protest that he wears the kittel. So in Ashkenaz, the custom was the other way, not to wear a kittel, and that's from what I'm familiar with non-Hasidic Ashkenazim. They don't wear a kittel by Seder. I happen to wear white by Seder, and every year there's someone who pours wine on me, or grape juice on me, or charoset in my sleeve, or something like that. So it's a very difficult thing to wear, but white. In many communities, for example, the Yemenite community, there's a custom to wear talit by the Seder.
What?
Talit.
Absolutely, for sure. To wear
Father
talit.
wears
Yemenite, that's right.
I've seen
father wears
pictures,
talit?
yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah?
Now in the
Yemenite
Yemenite tradition, the talit also plays an extra has extra importance because we don't have this custom of hiding the afikoman. We do hide the afikoman, but not the way other people hide. Many of the rabbis were very much against this custom of hiding the afikoman and then finding it and stealing it, and you give me a prize, we'll give it back to you. You know? Because why are you teaching a kid how to steal? I'll tell you the truth, that's probably the only reason I ever stayed up for a Pesach Seder when I was a child, was in order to steal the afikoman, but there must be a better way to do it. In the Yemenite tradition, the afikoman is separated from the rest of the matzot and tied into the talit. So you make a loop in your talit and tie it inside, and when you're ready, you untie it, and that's where, so it's hidden the whole meal. Okay, you get some crumbs in your thing. You gotta remember, we're also using tortillas over here, so there wasn't making crumbs over here.
So what's the fun for kids?
What's the fun for kids? We give them treats and we sing songs with them and we ask questions. And I guess they could try to steal the afikoman here, but
Well,
they'll get in
that's,
trouble.
you didn't just say that. That was
No, but we don't have this custom. Stealing is not a good custom. I think even the Lubavitch Rebbe had a famous letter that he was against this custom. Could be that I made it up, but for sure the Stoliner Rebbe was against it. I know for sure. What about the fun for the kids? They have fun other ways.
Hide it.
Ben et Tel Aviv. If a son is sitting by his father,
Oh, they're on the house.
Oh, yeah. Hide and seek.
a son doesn't lean. Ben et Tel Aviv tzarich hasada. A son who's sitting at his father's table leans. Afilu hu rabo mufat, even if his father is his rabbi. Talmid difnei rabo, a student in front of his rabbi, eino tzarich hasaba, he doesn't have to lean. Why?
Out of respect.
It's not considered respectful. Getting casual in front of one's rabbi.
What if the rabbi's leaning?
Afilu eino rabo mufak. What?
What if the rabbi's leaning?
Yeah, the rabbi should be leaning, but not everyone else. Afilu eino rabo mufak. Even if he's not his rabbi. What does it mean, not his rabbi?
He's a rabbi.
It's a rabbi.
A rabbi.
You're a visitor from another community and you don't study with this rabbi.
Can I have actually, because it's here. Shulchan Aruch in the laws of mourning. One of the laws of mourning we should never know is to rip our clothing. Maran writes, Al Adam Kasher, a kosher person, an upright Jew, Sheino Chashud al Shum Avera, who's not suspected of violating any Avera, Velo Shum Bitul Mitzvah, he doesn't hold back from fulfilling any mitzvah. It's a really upright person. Af al pi sheino gadol b'Torah, even though he's not a giant in Torah, he's a good kosher Jew. Af al pi shelo amad b'shat yitziat neshama, even if a person wasn't there when they passed away, chayav likro alav, you must rip your shirt for the passing of this person. V'hu she'omed sham ben mita lekvura, and that's so long as you're there between the death and the burial. V'talmidei chachamim, and Torah scholars, p'turim mikriya zo, they're exempt from ripping their shirt. Possibly, if I had to go look in the sources here, because it would be considered disrespectful for them to walk around with their ripped clothing. The Rama says, what about an Ashkenaz? What's the custom? Some say you don't have to rip your shirt for any kosher person. Unless you're actually standing there when they pass away. But you have an obligation to cry and to mourn for him. And this is the custom in Ashkenaz to be lenient in this matter of ripping shirts over other people. Al-Chacham. What about a Chacham? What about a wise person? A Torah scholar. Ve'al Talmid Chacham. And a student of a Torah scholar, which is an interesting category. We're so used to exchanging those words, Chacham and a Talmid Chacham. It's not, those two words are not the same thing. What kind of Talmid Chacham? What constitutes a Talmid Chacham? Is a Kabbalist a Talmid Chacham?
No, not necessarily. Could be.
Is an expert in Tanakh a Talmid Chacham?
No.
What about a Rosh Yeshiva? Is he a Talmid Chacham?
Yes.
What's the definition of Talmid Chacham?
Student of Chacham.
Or of a Chacham? See, in today's world, I'll tell you, someone who learns Torah, that's how you translate it to Talmid Chacham. Maran doesn't say. ששואלים אותו דבר הלכה בכל מקום ואומרה. That you can ask him a halachic question in any area of Jewish law, and he can give you an answer. That's the definition of a Torah scholar.
Most of them are not.
Most of us are not in that category. I'll tell you, you should live in Biot, 120. HaRav Peretz. The way it worked in yeshivas, we would study by him. He would give a shiur every day for 1 hour. And then after that hour, there's another hour that he stays in his office, and he gives 6 10-minute tests. So let's say you're studying the laws of Shabbat, you need to take a test. You take a test on every single chapter in the laws of Shabbat, like 100 chapters. As you arrange a 10-minute period, and about once a week you take a test on that 10-minute period, maybe twice a week if you get lucky. And he doesn't know who's coming to take tests. There's a notebook, you sign in, you come into his office, and he says, okay, what are we testing on? You could be there studying to be a mohel in the laws of Brit Milah. You could be there studying to be a shochet, either chickens or cows or lamb. You could be there to be studying the laws of mourning, or you could study the laws of marriage, or the laws of divorce, or the laws of conversion, or the laws of whatever it can be. You come in, you tell him the chapter, and he starts asking you questions on it. And then the next 10 minutes, someone else comes in, asks another question. I ripped my shirt when Rav Ovadia said passed away. Whatever you like to feel about what I said. There's literally no one else that was alive when he was alive that every single door of the whole Torah was open to him. All the books of Halacha, not just the Shulchan Aruch, all the books of Halacha. You ask them a question, it could be the most crazy question you ever thought about. And not one source or 2 sources or 3 sources, hundreds of pages of answers. It's unbelievable to even begin to think that there was such a person. When he passed away, he was a Talmid Chacham that it definitely falls in the category of one who answers Halacha in every place. Afilu la'achar gvura, even if he's been buried already, biyom shmu'ah, If you hear that a person, that such a Torah scholar passed away, אם הוא תוך 30 יום, as long as it's within 30 days, קורא עליו בשעת הספדו, we rip our shirts about his passing when we hear him being eulogized. The קוראים עליו, how much of our shirt do we rip? Don't think of these ridiculous ribbons, the black. עד שמגלין את ליבם, until it exposes their bare chest, their heart. That's how we rip our shirt. וכבר נהגו תלמידי חכמים בכל מקום, and it's already the custom among Torah scholars everywhere, says Maran, לקרוע זה עד זה טפח, to rip their shirts for each other's passing, fist length. אף על פי שהם שווים, even though they're equals, they're colleagues. ואין אחד מהם מלמד את חברו, and they didn't study by each other, but they still have a custom that they rip their shirts for each other. The Rama adds in here, because you've probably never seen anybody do this. V'yesh olim, but some say, she'en korin al chacham, we don't rip our shirts for a Torah scholar. Ela im ken hu rabo, unless he's your rabbi. O she'yodin mishmutav shechidesh dahainu rabo. Or he's such a famous Torah scholar that you're familiar with his Torah teachings, because his Torah spread to the whole world, and therefore you indirectly studied from him. וכן נהגו להקל בנותינו, so in our countries, the custom is to be lenient in this regard.
Rabbi, is this for women, for general, any gender?
It doesn't specify gender. It's a good question, but I don't see why it would be on one gender, not the other. Traditionally, it could be that just a man studied by the rabbi, but in a world where that's not true, then that could change also. The last halacha. Al rabo sherov chokhmato mimeno, if there's a rabbi that most of his wisdom comes from this rabbi. Im mikra mikra, whether it's the Tanakh, im Mishnah, if it's a Mishnah, im Gemara, or if it's halachot. Korea kol begadav ad shemegale libo. He rips all of his garments that he's wearing until his heart, his chest is revealed. V'im lo lamad rov chokhmato mimeno, but if most of his wisdom is not from him, Eino koreh alav, you don't rip it all. And the kedin shal mitim. It's just like any other person who passed away. Shu mitabed aleim, that we mourn over them. Why did I take the laws of mourning? Because this is where Maran is specifying what is a rabbi, what is a student, how much of a knowledge a person has to have from a rabbi. So this is what it's called divrei Torah asherim b'makom acher. The words of Torah are richer when you can read them in context with something else. So now back to the laws of leaning at the Seder table. He's telling you your main rabbi. What does it mean, main rabbi? Now we know. What does it mean that your main rabbi? The one you study the majority of your Torah from. You may have had many rabbis and teachers in your life, but who's the one that most of your wisdom comes from? Now some people might not have an answer to that question. Some people don't. They never studied by Chacham long enough for that. That's already a different discussion entirely. Talmid lifnei rabo, a student in front of his rabbi doesn't have to lean. Afilu eino rabo mufak. But this is talking even about a rabbi who's not your rabbi. Just he's a rabbi that you've studied from something. Elam ken, there's only one exception to that rule. Elam ken niten lo rabo reshut, unless his rabbi gives him permission. If his rabbi gives him permission, then he leans at the Seder table. Oh, breathe. Yeah. But, I don't know, how is it but? V'talmid chacham muflag bedoro, a Torah scholar who's the most famous in his generation. Af al pi shelo lamad mimeno klum, even though you didn't learn one word from them. Chashuv kirabo ve'no tzarich chasaba. He is considered your rabbi, and you don't have to lean in front of him. So let's give the name of a rabbi that I never studied from. Let's say I was at the Stolen Rebbe's table. I never studied a book of it. I never studied a shiur of his. But if I would be by his table, I wouldn't leave. Well, he's a famous rabbi. His name is in the whole world. So you just sit like a regular person and don't worry, because it would be considered disrespectful to be leaning. Right? So we got the leaning down. We lean to our left. Who do we lean in front of? Everybody except for our rabbi. Our parents, we lean in front of them, but our rabbi, we ask permission from it.
Or if it's a famous rabbi.
Our famous rabbi, that's not our rabbi, but is considered the rabbi, let's say, of the Jewish community.
No, let's buy some ice cream. There's a basket in here. Maggie, Russ, you're the Russ.
I want to maybe end here, just for this way of a lot of people. I wanted to get to the halacha that we don't always get to. You know that you have to eat, even when you eat challah for hamutzi, or you eat a cookie, you want to make an after blessing. You have to eat what's called a kezait. What is a kezait?
Olive.
An olive measurement. Sometimes our rabbis say you have to eat the size of
Egg.
an egg, kibbetza. Sometimes they tell you that a person who eats on Yom Kippur is only guilty of eating on Yom Kippur when they eat the size of a golgeret. What's a golgeret?
Dry fig.
It's a dried fig.
Buy fig.
Smaller than
Sometimes our rabbis will tell us that you have to say Tfilat HaDerech when you walk the distance of 1 mil. What is a mil? Not a mile. It's a measurement. Sometimes our rabbis will tell you that, and they keep giving you measurements. When is it considered the beginning of the day? Sunrise. What is sunrise? Netz HaChama. What does netz mean? Glimmer, the first glimmer of sunlight. Mitnotzets. It's sparkling. That's how you know the day has begun. When does the day end? Shkia, at sunset. How do you know when the sun has set? San Diego is very easy for you to know that. Yeah, La Jolla Shores, Cove, you see that little and go right beneath the horizon. The sun has set. What's the next halachic time after sunset?
Say,
When 3 stars come out. You notice that every single halachic time or measurement is something that you and I, without a computer, without a calculator, without any special device, you can determine what is the halacha. No scales needed, no measurements, no volume, nothing. Something that with your eyes and a little bit of common sense, you can figure out every single halacha. That's why our rabbis measure in fists. Why fists? Why not something else? Because fist is the most practical ruler that you have. Okay, maybe there's one time that's not a practical time, that's the midnight, right? But midnight is exactly the same time as midday. How do you decide what is midday?
The sun is.
Shemesh kofachat al rosho. The sun is blaring down on your head, and you don't have a shadow to either side of you. That's exactly, the sun is on top of your head. So let's say that's 12:49 p.m. You calculate that at midnight at 12:49 a.m. That is midnight.
Your human sundial.
Exactly. Every single halakha. It's kind of like you have to know which direction to pray. You look at your shadow in the sun. You know where you're standing in the world. You know what time of day it is. Every halakha in the world, you can determine the measurements of with common sense. So, how much matzah do you have to eat? How much of a cup do you have to drink? There's this measurement called a kezai, the size of an olive. How much is the size of an olive? Now it gets complicated. There's a book called the Kezai's book. I don't know the author. I'm sure he was a well-meaning individual who didn't know halakha. Or he knew halakha, but he followed a certain mentality in the world of halakha. There's literally people that'll come with this book, and there are charts, like fold-out pages, and you lay your matzah on top of the chart, and it'll tell you, according to this opinion, this much is a kezai. According to this opinion, this much is a... You know,
To satisfy all the opinions.
and it's an unbelievable thing. The people who literally they buy cups with certain ounces inside of them to measure how much wine they're drinking by the seder. Chachamim gave you measurements so you wouldn't need books. So where did all this balagan come from? It came from here. There was a famous chacham. His name was the Noda B'Yehuda, Rabbi Cheskel Landau. Very good. He was the chief rabbi of Prague. Should make her the rabbani. Chief rabbi of Prague.
Doesn't pay enough.
Check out the rabbi. Rabbi Cheskel Landau. He was sitting down and doing his measurements for the seder, and he came to the conclusion that the size of olives and eggs must have changed since the Talmudic times. The evolution of the olive.
Commercialization.
And he claimed that really olives used to be the size of eggs, and eggs were the size of ostrich eggs, and really he did some water displacement tests, and he wrote a whole theory, and this was spread like wildfire throughout the rabbinic community. And all of a sudden, what is they'll tell you, you have to eat 2 olive sizes of bread, matzah at your seder, right? And I tell you, what is that? They'll tell you it's a full shmura matzah. That's what they tell you, right? Am I right? It's a full matzah. That's the size of an olive. You know, I don't think any of these olives from. It's like GMO olives, you know? It's a special kind of olive over here.
Rachel said it's from when the spies went to Israel.
Oh, from the spies were no less. Now, let me tell you something very special about the city of Prague. The city of Prague, you know how many olive groves it has inside of it?
0.
They don't grow olives in Prague.
They didn't
It's
have
very
them in bottles
easy.
back
It's
then.
very easy for a chacham who's never seen something to determine that it has changed. You can imagine the Rambam is sitting in his house in Morocco where he grows up, and he finds himself in Egypt later on in his life, and is traveling throughout the world. Wherever he goes, there are olives, and he notices, hey, my olives in Morocco and in Egypt are all the same size. And you know, my grandfather who lived in this house, he said the olives were the same size too. And there was no surprise that this opinion never penetrated certain communities who knew what olives looked like. And then things get worse when we come back to Israel in 1948 and we start to uncover archaeology. And we find old olives that are stuck in between clay or things like that. And the olives are the same exact size as the olives we have today. And all of these measurements, and I know that nobody's going to listen to me, but all of these measurements of an olive is this much volume, this much weight, this much that. Come on, relax a little bit. An olive is the size of an olive. That's what it is. That's what it is. If you want an article I can recommend, there's Rabbi Yonatan Halevy has an article called The Evolution of the Olive. It's a fascinating 30 pages of an article.
Did you just
He
give us the
sometimes
Cliff
asks
Notes?
for donations. This is the Cliff Notes. And obviously he has many, many sources in there that I wouldn't get into right now. And the bottom line is an olive is an olive. How much matzah do you have to eat? Matzah is a biblical command. Be strict. Eat a little more than you have to eat if you are able to, health-wise. But don't convince yourself that the table is the size of an olive and the chair is the size of a... Just a little... have enough. What I'm going to tell you, if you eat... If you eat this much matzah, you for sure eat in 2 olive sizes. For sure. Now, you want to eat more? I told you. HaRav Peretz had said eating matzah. You already passed the olives. You already ate the whole tree of olives. It's biblical. He loves this mitzvah. It's a biblical mitzvah. Not many mitzvot you have are biblical. But when it comes to how much you're going to force the people in your house to eat, or how much... This Chag should be enjoyable. You want people to be happy. You want people to know halachot. And I recommend, read the article, learn a little about the evolution of the olive, and maybe that's a nice Dvar Torah for your Pesach Seder.
But doesn't matter if the matzot are flat?
Doesn't matter if the matzot are
You're
flat
taking
or
the
they're
circumference
round.
of the olive or the whole...
Do you guys remember we were studying a kollel, and we were trying to figure out, does the pit of the olive count, or are we just counting the fruit of the olive? And we were saying, like, what? Who is having this conversation? You now know who wrote those books on halacha. This is the...
Is it the
No, it's not. No, that's a good question. You're not like saying, oh, an olive is this long, so that's the length of matzah I'm eating. No, it's if you would crack all those matzahs and put them together, it would come out. And what kind of olive? Because I'm sure there are jumbo olives and there are miniature olives. An average olive. Okay, that's an average olive. Chachamim gave you measurements so that you could measure, so you could do them with your own eyes. The sunset, when the sunset? When you see the sun setting. When the sunrise? When you see the sun rising. So on and so forth. A person should train themselves to get rid of all these other ways to measure and teach themselves the natural way of Chazal to measure. Chava, I've overextended my stay, and I'm wishing everybody a lot of tov. Chag Hashav Sameach. We're going to continue this class Monday and Tuesday night next week, B'ezrat Hashem. And if anyone wants to come join us in LA tomorrow night, you're more than welcome to. Yeah. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. And if you want to join us here on Sunday night for the class on Pesach, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Costco and Trader Joe's.
Save you a lot of money.
Please check out the website. And last but not least, we have a Facebook forum that is live. You can ask any halakhic questions. I answer it. Okay for Ashkenazim, okay for Sfaradim, so on and so forth. We have gotten literally dozens and dozens of questions so far, and we're looking forward to yours as well. Our group is already close to the 300 mark, Baruch Hashem, since Shabbat, and we're just looking should continue to grow this way, God willing. It should continue, and God willing, we should have a Chag Hashav Sameach.